Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be brewing the Brut IPA kit from Brooklyn Brewshop. In the future I'll be adding my own homebrew recipes to this channel too, so if you're interested in that, please consider subscribing below. So this is just the brewing process for that kit, from starting brewing the beer through to fermentation. If you're interested in bottling beer, I have a video on that and I'll link that down below, walking you through how to do that. But this video just focuses on using the Brooklyn Brewshop kit in order to brew Brut IPA. If you've got the kit from Brooklyn Brewshop, you'll have most of the things that you need already. There are a few things that you'll need to get extra if you haven't brewed before. So these are a large cooking pot, a thermometer, a funnel, and also a strainer or a straining bag. I will leave links down below for all of these things. So again, as with any brew before starting, the first thing to do is to sanitize everything. With the Brooklyn Brewshop kit, if you've got the full kit, so if you've got a box like this with all of the stuff in it, then that kit itself will have a packet of sanitizer in it. If not, you can buy some yourself. Again, I'll leave a link below for sanitizer that I use myself. And you want to sanitize all of the stuff that's going to come in contact with your beer during this process. It's really important that you do this because this prevents any nasties getting into the beer, prevents the beer having any off flavours or going a weird colour or anything like that. So the first step with this beer is to heat 2 litres of water to 71 degrees Celsius. Once that water is up to temperature, you then want to take the malts from the kit and you want to pour those in and give them a quick stir. And at this point you can probably turn the heat off, and we expect the temperature to drop to somewhere between 63 and 68. And that's where you want to keep it for 75 minutes. So set a timer for that 75 minutes. And you'll probably just want to keep coming back to it every 10 minutes or so, just to check that it's still within that range of 63 to 68. But you probably won't need to keep the heat on for the whole time, so you only want to add a little bit of heat if it gets too cool. So now once the timer is set and the 75 minutes are rolling, you want to take the little enzyme capsule that comes with it and you want to just break that open and pour that on top of the grains and give it a quick mix in. So what this capsule will do is basically give the beer that classic dry Brut IPA style at the end, so it effectively give you beer that dry finish that we're looking for with this style. Now once the 75 minutes are up, you're going to want to raise the temperature up to about 77 degrees Celsius, just slowly, and whilst it's doing that you want to keep just stirring and mashing the grains together. This will just help extract any of the remaining sugars that are within the malts, ready for the next step. In a separate pan, you want to heat 3.8 litres of water. We're going to use this, we're going to add this to our grains shortly to create our beer effectively. So whilst that's heating, in a separate pot, you want to use your strainer or your straining bag, and you want to pour the grains and any liquid that's left through that straining bag to effectively filter that liquid through. So we want to filter the grains out from the liquid. Once your 3.8 litres of water that's in the separate pot is up to 77 degrees Celsius, you want to take that and pour that over the grains, again adding that to that final liquid in the bottom. So you're passing it through the grains, you're effectively collecting all more of those sugars that are left behind, and what results in the end will effectively be the beer. So you should now have about 4.75 litres of liquid once it's been strained through all of the grains and you've added that extra water to it. You want to pass that back through the grains at least once again just to collect any more sugars that are left behind, and to just clear the water a little bit. So if you pass that through once or twice, once that's done, we are ready to move on to the next step. So now you've got your liquid separated from your grains. The grains can be disposed of, or you can save them and use them for baking bread or something similar. And it's just this point we want to put the wort, the beer, back on the hob, and we want to heat that up until it reaches a boil. As soon as that's gone onto the hob and you've started adding more heat to it, you want to add 1/4 of the hops. You want to keep heating the beer until it hits the foam stage, so it starts to foam, almost boil over the top. And then obviously you can reduce the heat down to prevent it from boiling over, and you want to keep it at a steady boil for 60 minutes. So now set a timer again for 60 minutes, and now you can just sit and relax with the beer, because you've got to do nothing for about another 45 minutes. Once those 45 minutes are up, it's time to add some more of the hops. So you want to add another 1/4 of the hops that are left. And again, giving them a quick stir, and we do nothing again until the full 60 minutes is up. Now once that 60 minutes is up, again you add another quarter of the hops, and there will be some left. Again, keep those to the side. I advise putting them in the fridge. We'll be using those for dry hopping the beer later. So at this point, the 60 minutes is up. You've been boiling that liquid for about 60 minutes, and some of it will have been lost to evaporation, and that's totally expected. So you should be left with about 3.8 litres of liquid, which is obviously your gallon of beer. And now what we want to do is to take that 1 gallon of liquid, and we want to cool it as fast as we can. To cool, I basically just put the pot into a sink full of, effectively make an ice bath in the sink. So it's just a sink full of really cold water and ice. And we want to bring that down to about 18 to 20 degrees Celsius, to around room temperature before we add in the yeast. That means that effectively it's at the temperature that the yeast is happy to be in, and we won't kill off any of those yeast cells, and it won't create any off flavours in our beer either. So once it's down to about 18 to 20 degrees Celsius, we can now take that beer and we can transfer it into the demijohn. So you can simply just pour this straight into the top, and through a funnel. I recommend using the funnel into the top, and maybe a small strainer over the top to catch any of the bits of hops or anything that's left behind. But you want to pour that in to the demijohn, and then once it's done, you want to just take the top of the yeast packet, snip that open, and pour the yeast into the top. At this point with this kit as well, you also get given some yeast food, which look like the little packet of crystals. So at this point again, you want to take those and pour those into the top as well, and then sanitize your hand, put it on top of the demijohn, and then give it a real good shake. So this shaking helps aerate the liquid, helps give oxygen and get oxygen into the yeast, so it can start doing all of the good work of turning all those sugars in the beer into alcohol for us. Now at this point the process is pretty much done. You just need to add the airlock or the blow-off tube to the top. Again, if you want a more detailed view of how to do this, I'll link my Brewdog Punk IPA video down below. That has a more thorough view of this process. But effectively, you can create a blow-off tube by sticking one end of the tube, remember to sanitize it first, into the top of the demijohn, and then leaving the other end into a part of sanitizer at the other end. So normally you leave the blow-off tube in for a couple of days, and that's when that's when the yeast is its most active. So you'll see a lot of CO2 coming out, and your little pot of sanitizer that the blow-off tube is going into will probably be bubbling away. After 2 or 3 days, that'll probably slow down quite significantly, and it's at this point that you can swap to the airlock. Whilst doing this, it's a good time to put in half of the remaining hops. At that point, so after 2 or 3 days, you want to put half of those remaining hops into the top of the demijohn, quickly open it, put them in and close it as quick as you can. That process is known as dry hopping, and will add both flavour and aroma to the beer. And we're going to do that again, so the remaining half that's left, after 7 days. So after the beer has been sat again for 7 days, take that final half, quickly take off the top, pour them in and put it back on. And again, that's just going to enhance the flavour and the smell of the beer too. And that's it really. So after the full 2 weeks is up, you'll be in a position to bottle. You'll have a Brut IPA that should be nice and dry, and nicely dry hopped as well, so it would be quite juicy and have lots of flavour and aroma. If you want details again of how to go through the bottling process, I'll leave a link to my video down below too. But that's it. But I think all that's left to do is to give this beer a try. So once the beer is finished fermenting and you've bottled it, what you should end up with is a bottle of beer that looks like this. So let's give it a try. As you can hear, it's properly carbonated. So the beer itself is quite clear. It both looks and smells like beer, and it's got a nice head on it as well. So because of the 2 lots of dry hopping that we've done with this beer, you get quite a good smell to it as well. So it smells really fruity and floral. That's from the 2 lots of dry hopping from the hops. Taste wise, it definitely comes across like a Brut IPA. It's quite dry in the mouth when you drink it, and compared to like some of the other, the Brewdog IPAs that I've brewed before. They taste like standard ales. This is definitely a lot drier, almost like a lager dryness to it. And yeah, the overall flavour is great. The 2 lots of dry hopping really helps. You get quite a juicy beer, but it's also really refreshing because it's dry. Would be ideal for a summer's day or something like that. Definitely for outside warm weather, that sort of stuff. But yeah, I mean, this is the 3rd or 4th kit that I've brewed now from Brooklyn Brewshop, and all 4 of them have been great. They're a really good way to start brewing beer and to get used to the process, and a great introduction for anyone who wants to get started. And now I've done these, I feel confident enough to go ahead and do my own thing. So I'm going to look for some recipes online for some of my favourite beer styles. I'm going to give them a go myself, and I'll be posting those in future videos. Yeah, and if I do find some good recipes, I'll link them in as well. So that's it really. So if you're interested in finding out about those future brews and those future recipes, then please subscribe down below. But for now, hopefully your beer turns out as good as this, because this is pretty delicious. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Cheers.